Welcome to the ThunderCast, your martial athletics podcast produced by the fans, for the fans, with your hosts, Russ Livingood and Jed Horton. We're bringing you the thundering word on the thundering herd each and every week, so keep it right here, because the ThunderCast is on the loose. Welcome back to another episode of the ThunderCast. Russ Livingood here with Jed Horton, and man, we had an absolutely epic few days. Most of it revolving around Marshall football and the spring game, but Jed, we're back at it for a show after working our tails off there for a couple of days to get some content that's coming up.
Yeah, it was great to get together with you and KD and be a part of all the events of this last weekend. So we've got a lot to talk about this week.
Yeah, talk about it here in a second after we say that if you are listening or you are watching, no matter what platform you're on, please hit the subscribe button so you'll get notifications every time that that we bring out some new content. But I also have to say thanks to Leasure Oliver PLLC, better known as 304carwreck.com, as our sponsor since what I like to say is before day zero. So let's get a quick word from them. If you've been hurt in a wreck, call the law firm of Leasure Oliver PLLC. Find them at 304carwreck.com. Yeah, Jed, little spoiler, we've got some content that'll be coming out piece by piece. We've got a lot of stuff to edit, but you and I and KD sat down with some Herd football alumni and asked the same questions to each one of them. So we've got some editing to put together and bring that out. And, we don't want to bombard everybody and saturate it, put it all out at once. So, we've got a little bit of stuff that we can drop here and then drop there. It was really good to hear some of the answers that those guys gave and what Marshall really means to them.
Yeah, it was a really good event, Russ. This is the third year they've done this event, I believe.
Yeah.
The second year we've been invited to it, and there's always pieces like stories that get told, like little tidbits of information that you hear that just blow your mind. There were several times, and I can't wait for everybody to hear it. There were several times when you and KD and I just looked at each other just like, oh my gosh, like we had no idea. So to hear these player stories and how Marshall and the football programs affected them in the course of their lives it's always fascinating to hear. So I think people are going to really enjoy that when that comes out.
And a lot of great sound bites and things, but the one that keeps playing in my head, and I don't know if it'll make the final cuts to what we throw together, but when a player said, yeah, that's actually how I met DMX was through Girardi Mercer.
Yeah.
Such a callback to 2-3 years ago, whenever it was when we were down there on the field. I think it was 2023 when Chad Pennington did the cornhole event, and Girardi Mercer held court for about 53 minutes and told an epic story about DMX here in Huntington.
We'll have to try to maybe cut that story in whenever he starts to talk about that. For those of you who missed it, it's a fantastic story.
And you can find that on our YouTube channel, actually.
Yeah, it's up there.
Jed, a massive amount of stuff went on. We're not going to get into everything. KD and I are going to actually have our show as well to get into a little bit more, but you and I have plenty to cover. 5 things every herd fan needs to know this week, and then taking you around the herd. So let's start off with the 5 things brought to you by Ignite. And now here are at least 5 things every herd fan needs to know this week. As always, brought to you by ignite.link, the Tri-State's premier IT management team. Well, and thanks to ignite.link, we're going to start here at number 1. Men's soccer wins the College Spring League, and I should say again.
Yeah. Is anybody surprised? Like I mean, year after year, season after season, this soccer team with Coach Chris Grassy has just elevated this program to to national relevance, really, and to take on two Big Ten teams
Hmm.
back to back,
Hmm.
and so you're beating Ohio State for the second time in months, and then to
Hmm.
take on Michigan State and win. It's hey, I love to see it.
Yeah, one in penalty kicks on this one, overtime. But Marshall was behind. They came back, stormed back, tied it up, went ahead, then let it get tied up, then went to penalty kicks and won there. This was the same night as the alumni banquet. This was the same day as the baseball game at home. This was the same day as the spring game. And we know that was very, very wildly attended. So we didn't get to go. And, I was at the alumni event later that night, didn't get to watch. I was keeping track on Twitter, on Herd Men's Soccer's Twitter page. And, man, just, didn't want to shout out while speakers were speaking at the event, but won it again. And like you said, beat a couple of really strong back to back Big Ten programs. This is not the only college um, league that's going on in the spring. WVU made it to the finals of theirs, for instance, that they were in. Um, I think theirs was more in the Atlantic coast area of the teams that they were playing, and ours was more of the Midwest footprint. But really, really good to do. I feel like this helps those teams that participate in this fine tune some things. Uh,
Yeah.
it's not just a scrimmage. It's very, not inter squad. It's very, very competitive and gives you a good look at some incoming players, which we're going to talk about in
Mhm.
number two. Number two is Stefan and GK named the most valuable player. So this is our incoming player from Long Island University. Uh, Highly touted coming from there, had a lot of really good stats over there. And this was someone we were looking forward to seeing how he would fit in. I think he had one season at Long Island and doesn't really get too much better of a debut than to win the tournament MVP that you're in. So, what do you think about? Well, let me bring the other two up too. Making the all-league team on the Southern Division, Joao Roberto, Hai Pinto, and Kirill Pakamov. I hope I am saying that correctly on their names.
Well, it's good to see there's a couple of familiar names from, back in the fall, guys who were very, I mean, integral to the season and how it developed. And so it's good to see those guys, developing chemistry with these guys that have come in, which just goes to show you that the guys and these players that Chris Grassy's bringing in are people that are going to have immediate impact on this team. So that's really good to see, Russ. I'm excited for the fall. I'm going to renew my season tickets, and let's go for another run. I think I think we'll come out starting the season ranked and uh, with a bit of a chip on our shoulder.
I think the big takeaway for me is, because I didn't know a lot of what to expect from this guy that came over right off the bat. You think that maybe he'll come over and he'll contribute or whatever, but not win the league MVP in the spring. Um, but to me, it's that Marshall is a destination for some of the best players in the country. Chris Grassy has built our program up to that. It's no longer, well, they had a really good team one year. They had a really good team and it was the perfect storm. It's they are a threat to win. They
Mhm.
are one of the blue bloods now. Even though you usually think blue blood, you think tradition going back 20 some years or whatever. I think the run that we're in has put us up in blue blood. No other program has done what we've done since the 2020 season. Uh,
Yeah, I did a little bit of research, and I can't remember the teams because I did a little bit of research, and there was a couple of teams that have had some similar runs.
Yeah,
But and correct me if I'm wrong at Jed Horton on X or Twitter. But the it no team has sustained
yeah.
for this long that have had short bursts of success.
No
So
one's made the final eight as many times as we have, or
mhm,
things like that. They have gone to the tournament. They've had maybe a year where they missed doing something, but we have consistently made it to Sweet 16, consistently made it to the Elite Eight. We've been in the finals twice of the College Cup, winning once and coming oh so close to winning a second time. But yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. We lose someone. You remember losing Matthew Bell, and you're like, how
yeah,
will we ever replace? And then, oh, here's Lineker Rodriguez dos Santos.
yeah,
Now here's Stefan and Gige. And others. We're just reloading every year, and
hmm
and even though there's some carryover and things like that. Hey, send 3 to the MLS Super Draft. Let's just bring in 3 other guys
right,
that'll be just as good. So that's just what gets you excited about soccer here at
yeah.
Marshall is that year in year out you have a team that is a threat to do it and take it all.
Right. And so this is the call out for those of you who have maybe purchased tickets for maybe one game or two games or even yet to go watch a soccer match. And I know I've seen the comments on the social media and on the forums and things like that. The comments are, I just can't get into it. Well,
Mhm.
if you're a person trying to watch it on TV, go to the live event. Get you a ticket, get your season tickets, go to the event. It's a lot of fun. It's a good group that shows up to support this team. So
Yeah.
I encourage you, if you haven't done it, it's time to do it.
Yeah, and go over there and just get involved in the tailgate scene prior to the game. I love good tailgate, and that just really sets the mood for you.
Yep.
All right, number 3, we have Diamond Leslie named as a National Fast Pitch Coaches Association quote selected top performance of the week quote. And what that means is they listed, 10 to 15 across the country in each division. So for Division One, she was one of those. It's kind of like the finalist of National Player of the Week, is
Mhm,
what I would say. And man, she just crushed it. Literally. With
mhm,
the home runs that she hit, 1,200 slugging percentage for the week. Has an absolute gun in the outfield, has wings on her feet on the base path. She has just been a freshman phenom for Marshall softball and a stellar week. Kept us in some games, helped us win some games. She was very deserving of that. And anytime you can get that national ranking, even if you're not, or national acknowledgement, even if you're not winning the overall award, coming from a program like Marshall from the Sun Belt, when you have the Oklahomas of the world and things
mhm.
like that, that you're also competing for the overall number 1 spot. I think that was really good that she got mentioned in that.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, it's just more accolades for a softball program that has done really well and is trying to climb back into being one of the top teams in the Sun Belt. So that's really good.
And number 4, I thought this was super cool as well. The Big Green announces the Red Dawson Endowment Scholarship for football. And what that is Red and his wife have now created an endowment. And in perpetuity, they will have a Marshall student athlete playing football will receive a scholarship to help offset some of those costs.
No, that's really great to hear. I saw that post. I think I saw that yesterday or day before. I can't quite remember, and that's just another contribution that Red and his family have done for this program. So that's really awesome to see.
I mean, at this point, it's almost indescribable everything that they
Yeah.
have done. And, he wasn't there for the fountain ceremony on
Mhm.
Saturday, a little under the weather, but just what he has meant to stay around this program and his contributions that he continues to do, always uplifting when he's around. Um, Jed, I just realized that I didn't have my microphone in front of me, so hopefully everybody's been able to hear a little bit better. But what a
Yeah, it was a little
time!
distant, but I didn't realize it was that bad. Like,
What a time! 15 minutes in, but I had it moved over to the side so I could use my arm
you,
and not hit the microphone. And forgot to move it
you
back.
sounded fine. You sounded fine to me. So I think
We'll see when it plays back and everybody gets on at
right.
Russ Living Goods. Like, what the
Yeah,
hell are
yeah.
you doing?
Right, right.
But no, the way these scholarship endowments work, it's a $25,000 endowment, to fully do a scholarship for a student athlete. And it's a commitment over 5 years. So it's $5,000 for 5 years. And that gets you set up to where they can do that in perpetuity, for forever as this is invested. So anyone out there that thinks, hey, this is something that I would like to do someday, doesn't have to be right now, and you don't have to have $25,000 that you throw out right now. It's think of it as a zero interest car loan. You take 25,000, divide it by 5 years, that's 5,000 a year. Divide that by 12, it's 400 and
Hmm.
a little bit of dollars, and that's what you're paying each month. That's no drop in the bucket, and I'm not trying to
Right.
suggest that anyone can do it, but there are some people out there watching or listening that, as a business or as an individual or as a family, they say, you know what, I would like to do that. I would like to do that for swim and dive. I would like to do that for tennis. I would like to do that for basketball. I would like to do that, whatever sport. And all of those go in and help. And it just helps offset what our athletic department has to pay for our student athletes to be able to play. So, um, yeah, I just what Red did, man. But if you want to do that and you're interested in what I just said, we actually have Alicia Parker Webb is who's in charge of that with the Big Green, and you can call the Big Green office. You can get on Herd Zone. You can find out her exact email. You can reach out to her and say, "Hey, I'm interested in this," because she specifically targets people that are wanting to do this sort of thing and helps grow our endowment. So anyone listening and you want to do what Red did, hit her up. All right. And our fifth and final thing, Jed, there is a lot of chatter going around on
Yep.
social media about this. The spring transfer portal for football is wide open, wide open. Um, Before I run down this list of names so far, before we started recording, you got any thoughts on the transfer portal itself? All right. Let me
Uh,
read these off
yeah.
to you. Go ahead.
No, no, I was gonna say is it's I think something that we've rehashed before. Something needs to change, and what the way it works right now is not great, and that's really all I can comment on. But I'm not a fan of the current state of affairs with the transfer portal. But
Now, as we have always done on the Thundercast, these are ones that I'm going to mention here that are not, I'm not getting these from a national news source
Mhm.
that says someone's in the portal. This is coming straight from the players. There are likely more that are already in the portal, and you can find them anywhere. But we have found in the past that those haven't always been accurate. And someone says, so and so's in the portal and they're not, or so and so may have been in the portal for a very short time and changed his mind nearly immediately and they never took him out. These are coming straight from the players. So, not all encompassing, but here's what I have before we started recording: Colin Parachek, Will Holt, kicker, Reese Verhoff, kicker. He was our starter the last 3 years. Marcel Williams, wide receiver, he actually entered uh, at the end of the season, entered the portal, and then took his name back out while the portal was still open and decided to remain at Marshall. and now that they've actually had a spring practice, that was kind of after Coach Huff left, he put himself in. After Tony Gibson came here, he took himself out.
Mhm.
Because it was just the unknown of I don't know who's going to be here. Now he's in again. Aiden Karsh, Cam Kennard or Kennard. Let's see. I have to come back to that one. Jackson Klein, Chris Stokes, Zach Howard, Trey Dunn, Aiden Steinfeld, tight end. Justin Holmes, the tight end. That was way back on April the 1st, but I wanted to list him. Offensive lineman Andrew Hancock. A lot of those players were here for a couple of years. A handful of these players came in on the transfer portal after the fall season was over. So they came in the winter, and now they're entering and going back out. One name that we have confirmed that has come in so far
Mhm.
is Zay Bradshaw, which is Ahmad Bradshaw's son, wide receiver from Virginia Tech. He has transferred to Marshall and has committed and confirmed that. Now, that's a lot of names.
Mhm.
And there's a bevy of this is what I hate about college football now. Look how many Marshall is losing. This has got to be something's got to be wrong. I'm with you on the first part. A lot of this sucks about
Yeah.
in and out of the transfer portal, and I'm not sugarcoating that and trying to tell you that you should just learn to love it. You don't have to learn to love it, but do recognize that it's here and this is the way it is now.
Right.
The second part of that is Marshall is not alone in seeing a lot of players. I think there are probably five figures in the transfer portal right now amongst 136 teams. It's everywhere. So that means there's opportunity to bring some players in,
Mhm.
but we're also going to lose some players. Now, why did these players enter? And this is something KD and I are going to talk a lot more in depth, but you have to keep in mind now with the House versus NCAA settlement, roster sizes are limited to 105. We had more than 105 on our roster
Mhm.
after the spring game. We had some other players that were possibly coming in, like look at Bradshaw, for instance, and there's going to be more. We had some players that had to be cut or, told that they're not going to have a roster spot. And that is not unique to Marshall. Uh, West Virginia up north, I think, just had 26 to 30 uh, right before our spring game, maybe 2 days before the spring game, including one local uh, player from Huntington that had gone up there. So this is not unique to Marshall. Marshall's not doing something different, wrong, etc. This is happening everywhere. You can't have 10,000 plus in the transfer portal amongst 136 teams and say it's a Marshall problem. You know,
Right.
yes, there was a lot of turnover when the coach left, and that is going to happen now just about everywhere. But when you have the same returning staff and they're still losing 25 in the portal, it's not unique to Marshall. But again, there's a lot of players that have basically no roster spot, and they're going to want to go where they can play. If
Yeah.
some of these, maybe they just did not like where they were at on the depth chart and thought, well, if I'm the eighth wide receiver, or if I'm the fourth kicker, or, I'm just making things up. This is not anybody individually on here that I know that's where they're at. These are just scenarios that someone would say, I'm going to transfer. Some of these players may transfer down a division. They may go to the FCS. They may go to Division Two. They just want to go where they can play. They,
Right.
they would like to go have a chance to have their education paid for, and that might be one of the reasons that they have to transfer. Maybe they don't have a scholarship here anymore. Um, just don't think that this is a unique to Marshall's situation.
Right. For sure. And so to my point earlier, I definitely do not like the way the transfer portal works now and those rules and things like that. But to the other side of that coin, you've got to adapt.
Yeah,
These are the rules as they are now. In some ways, it's still the Wild West. I think NIL is getting out of control,
yeah,
especially at some of these large universities, and how much money is being thrown at players. And we can all have opinions on that. And we can go out sometime and we can discuss that. But the truth of the matter is, that's what's here now. And Coach Gibson and the staff on with the football program have to, you got to adapt, and you've got to, the transfer portal giveth and it taketh away, and you've got to, use that to your advantage and be kind of, I think you're going to see this football staff already. They're getting, you're getting creative, and you have to be if you're going
yeah.
to stay competitive in this landscape. So it's not the end of the world. People will transfer, players will transfer in, players will transfer out, and I think we'll be just fine.
Yeah, and there are unique players every time that you not necessarily get close to, as like I don't have their phone numbers and I don't text them or I don't DM them on social media, but you kind of feel like following them on social media, following them on the interviews that they do with Paul Swan or Keith Morehouse or Tyler Kennett, used to be Luke Creasy. You get some of their personality. You root for them, maybe you like their skill set, the passion that they play with, and then all of a sudden they have to make a decision as an 18 to 23-year-old kid
Mm.
that they have to do what's best for them, for what their desires are for their schooling and for
Right.
playing sports. And they're not here anymore. And I don't have to like that. I hate that. But
Mm.
it is, like you said, something that you have to adapt to, because it's not like everybody else in the Sun Belt's just going to agree with you and say, yeah, let's just not bring in any transfers. How's that going to work when you're losing 30? How are
Yeah.
you going to bring anybody in? This is the way it is now. The final thing that I'll say, and again, KD and I are going to talk about this a lot more in depth, along with the spring game and what we saw. But I say this every time. We cannot just bring in 30 new players the day that the transfer portal opens. Jed, they have to enter the portal before we can bring
Yeah.
them in. Every day, or every time the portal opens, the first couple of days looks like an absolute bloodbath of all the people entering.
Hmm.
And we see comments on social media of every different platform of social media. Marshall's losing everybody. This coach can't keep him here. Where are all these players that we're bringing in? We can't bring them in yet. All right.
Right.
We don't have to even bring them in while this portal is open. The portal being open for 30 days, or in this case, 15, I think is what it is in the spring. While it's open for that amount of time, players can enter. So they have 15 days to enter. And then after they enter, they have 30 days to withdraw. So
Hmm.
could be 45 days, really, if somebody
Yeah.
enters on the last day, that they could even come back here.
Right.
All right. So you just have to understand that other players, as they enter, are then going to be added all the way up to fall practice in August.
Right.
So we have all summer long to be bringing people in. We'll track it for you. We'll have it on ThunderCast.Online on our portal tracker. There will be a new thing for the spring that'll show everybody that entered and everybody that came over. But just, if you're watching, if you're listening, don't freak out. It's going to be a little bit of a process. You may lose one of your favorite players that you've been rooting for, but Marshall will continue. And some of these players that we're talking about leaving, or some of the players that we have said, man, he's one of my favorite players here in playing herd football, came here via the transfer portal.
Hmm.
So it's I'm not trying to talk down on anybody, but you cannot embrace only the ones that we bring in. We wouldn't have the room to bring them in if we didn't have those that entered that left elsewhere. And again, I support these players who are just looking out for themselves. They want to go somewhere and play.
Yeah.
They want to go somewhere and get an education. So I support them, wish them well. I hate that some of them are leaving. I hate that all of them are leaving. It is the way it is, and Marshall will continue and they will move forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, Jed, kind of a down note to end that on with the transfer portal and all that nonsense, but we thank Ignite.link and Jed in particular for bringing us 5 things every Herd fan needs to know this week.
Good 5 things, Russ. Like, transfer portal is what it is, but other than that, had a great weekend this past weekend. Had soccer team winning their game. A lot of things to be excited about.
Yeah. All right. What do you say we take this around the herd? Let's get a word from
Yeah.
Layer One Solutions. And now, Layer One Solutions, your experts in business connectivity infrastructure, takes you around the herd.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and start with track and field. So Marshall went down to the JMU invite, and they won 9 events. Russ, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure can. We actually swept a couple of those on the men's side and the women's side. So the first was Addison Painter and Laura Check, both won the long jump. And then at the end of the meet, a sweep of the 4x400 relays, team of Ethan Bowens, Micah Coates, Isaiah Harper, and Wyatt Milhone. And if you remember, we've been talking about the
Mhm.
various different lineups of the 4x400 and how they have been breaking the school record. Um, but over on the women's side, Maya Bose, Haley Crum, Bryn McKeever, and Azure Travis also won the 4x400. And then we also picked up wins from Markay Lamore. More on her in just a second. Tavon Simmons Roberts, Hannah Weiler, and Evan Weeder all came out victorious. And other notes here, Emma Henry ran the third fastest time in school history in the 100-meter dash. And she was the third newcomer to crack the top 5 in the women's sprints over the last 3 weeks. Nia Harrison ran one of the top times in the Sun Belt, 5th fastest time in school history. And then the men's 4x100 that I talked about earlier, they tied that school record of 40.89 again with a different order. So switching up that team, switching up who's on that team, switching up the order of who's the anchor, who's first, who's in the middle, no matter what, they are still hitting at or breaking the school record each and every week. So that's got to bode very well for whatever lineup we end up determining is the best one when we throw them out for the championships.
Yeah.
I want to go back to Markay Lamore real quick.
Mhm.
I did not know this until Saturday night after you and I had departed the tailgate area. But one of the guys that helped us get the boil pot up and plated, the low country boil
Mhm.
in the steam pans, was Markayla Moore's dad. He was tailgating
Yeah.
a few spots over with former Marshall player Damian Garrett, wide receiver from the Doc Holliday area.
Mhm.
And Damian was over at the tailgate early before the lot got full. And, he was cooking with those guys over there. He came over to help us. Well, the one guy that he came back and he brought his daughter over, it was
Mhm.
Mark Moore. And
Mm.
I saw him at the alumni event later and I thought, I didn't know that guy was an alum. Well, he's not. He was there accepting an award that Markayla won as a
Mhm.
student athlete at this alumni banquet on Saturday night. So got to talk to him again and learned why he was there and everything. We talked
Mhm.
about the tailgate and just Marshall in general, but it was just super cool, and I didn't expect to see him there because I was like, hey, I didn't know, I thought you went to a different school. He was there
Mhm.
accepting on behalf of his daughter. And earlier that day, she just happened to win her event at the JMU invite.
It's very cool. Now, I saw someone over there helping you do that. and had no idea that was him. No, that's very cool. Very cool. So let's say we move it on over to tennis. Tennis, they swept Texas State 4-0 on Saturday. And well, let's talk about that first. They swept Texas State.
Yeah, so I'm trying to remember. It seems like we had one meet where we lost after we went on that road trip to Virginia. But I think it's only one, and I think that we're like 7-1 since then, or 6-1 since then. And it's either been 4-0, 4-0, 4-1, and 4-0, or 4-1, 4-1. But this is a bunch of sweeps here late, and it's all in conference play. And then also throwing in some 4-1s where that the other team we were playing barely got a match victory. So this is just really good to see. And I know that we're ranked in the 60s. We were 68 coming into this matchup. We're staying in that top 70. I would like to see us eke back up to the 50s, but we had that hiccup on that one road trip. And had that not happened, you're talking about beating a very good ODU team if that would have happened, to where we would have been the front runners for the conference instead of them, and we would
Mhm.
still be in that top 40 where we were earlier. So just a heck of a run that we've had here. And I'm going to actually go and look up what our record has been here since that Virginia thing, but I'll switch it back over to you.
Yeah, yeah. So while Russ looks that up, if you want to know where they're going to be next, tennis is going to be traveling down to Georgia State. That'll be on Saturday at 10 a.m.
Yeah, and I don't have it here. I'll look by the end of the show. I'll bring it back up what their
Okay.
record is. Just know that they are absolutely rolling right now. They're killing it, and we've talked all year long about how John Mercer's squad
Mhm.
has just performed above and beyond. But yeah, so they lost. Got it up here finally.
Okay.
They lost to JMU back on March the 7th, and then ODU on March the 9th, and that was that swing. And then since then, Southern Miss 4-0, South Alabama 4-0. They lost that one event at App State 2-4, and then ULM 4-0, Arkansas State 4-1, Georgia Southern 4-1, Coastal Carolina 4-0, Texas State 4-0. Going into this Saturday is their
Wow.
final one before they head to the Sun Belt Conference tournament. So just know that
Mhm.
besides that App State, they have just been crushing it against all the competition in the Sun Belt. Just really, really would have liked to have seen them either pick up that victory against ODU or against JMU or App State. We'd be looking a lot better than we are.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we move into the tournament and everything, you never know what can happen. I mean,
Sure,
we're proving that this tennis squad is very very good. So it'll be fun and exciting to track their progress once it comes tournament time.
that's right.
We talked about men's soccer. It got promoted to a five things, which uh, it should have been. So we're
Mhm.
going to skip on over from across men's soccer and go over to women's soccer, and they will be at WVU on Saturday at 2 p.m. to continue their spring exhibition game.
Yep, and that's not too far to travel. Just
Mhm.
like when they went down to Virginia. No, that was volleyball that went to Virginia Tech. But women's soccer, having their own little. They're not in a college spring league like the men's side was, but this exhibition round that they're doing, keeping them on their toes, allowing them to again, same as on the men's side, mesh a little bit better with
Mhm.
incoming players and all the recruits that Coach Rafis Samos has brought in this off season and the previous. a lot of international flair that has come in. And also got to meet him on Saturday and found out that he knew who we were and blew my mind. And I told him that blew my mind. I just kind of assumed that, people hear the Thundercast when they're actually, a coach and they go,
Mhm.
what now? But
Yeah.
he said he actually listens or watches, from time to time, and it helps him know more while he's so invested in the women's soccer program, know what's going on around the rest of herd athletics. So, Coach Samos, it was very nice to meet you. And we're glad we've got some other eyes and ears out there from Marshall
Yeah.
Athletics.
That's great. And I want to sidetrack for just 2 seconds because I'm glad you brought that up because I know at the beginning of every episode you talk about, or Katie talks about, liking and sharing the podcast. So for those of you, I know it's, you're probably listening, you're well ingrained into this now. You've got it automatically downloading in your Apple Podcast or getting the alert on YouTube. But if you wouldn't care, like and share and subscribe, that actually helps the algorithms and things. And this is, there's a lot of other herd fans out there I think that would enjoy the content because I know that's what drew me to the Thundercast was being able to have the ability to listen, while I'm
Mhm.
driving and working and things like that, and being able to ingest this information about Marshall athletics through the podcast. So I actually listen to Russ and KD when they do theirs, and it's usually when I'm on the road through Apple Podcasts. So I'm just going to put in that plug. So if you haven't shared or liked yet, go ahead and do it now.
Yeah, we get a lot of listeners because on Spotify or Apple or whatever you use to listen, even YouTube Music, you can listen now and don't have to watch the video. But a lot of people do that on their commute. A lot of people do that while they're working out, while they're mowing the grass, or just put it on in the background so they can hear while they're working, while they're cooking dinner, or all kinds of things. So we do have quite a bit of listeners. It just always blows my mind, that this a coach,
Yeah.
so again, Coach Samos, very nice to meet you, and glad that we can help update you on what's going around the herd.
All right. Yeah, definitely. Thank you. So, all right, let's talk a little bit about women's golf.
Okay.
Unfortunately, they had a rough week in the SBC championships. They finished 12 of 13 teams.
Hmm.
Now, although today was their best round, they still shot 61 over for the tournament.
Hmm.
Emily McClatchy led the herd at 10 over, which was good for tied for 30th. She was in the top 15 through 2 rounds, but had a tough round today. And then Savannah Hawkins was 2 under for the final round, and barely anyone shot that well for the round for the entire tournament. So,
Yeah. So about that, there were 69 different golfers in there. There's 3 rounds. That's 207 individual
mhm.
rounds, individual player rounds. I think I counted 10 that were under par. 10
Oh wow.
rounds out of 207 that were under par. And she shot a 2 under. And the majority were 1 under of those 10. Maybe 6 of them, maybe 5 of them. And then the overall winner shot like a 2 under, a 4 under, and a 3 under. But
Mm,
everyone else had at least one round, and most of them all 3 rounds that were over par. And so that was just putting into perspective what a day Savannah Hawkins had today.
right.
Now, a little bit too late to do any kind of movement.
Mhm.
Um, Marshall as a whole, they would have like, McClatchy was top 15. I can't remember if she was 13th or 15th or whatever, but um, she shot 10 over on the tournament and was 7 over today in the final round.
Mm,
So, it was like right up there with the leaderboard, right up there
Yeah.
with the leaderboard. And just like many other golfers, there's hardly anybody that put 3 consecutive rounds
Mm.
of anywhere close to par together. And that's not just Marshall, that's all 69 of them. You could count probably on 3 fingers everyone that had 3 good rounds.
Right.
So tough
Yeah.
course, tough tournament, but Marshall just wasn't their day. It wasn't their week.
Yeah. And sometimes and I know my game is just always bad, but I know that in a game, anytime you do any athletic sports, it's just sometimes you just don't have a good weekend, you don't have a good day. So,
Yeah.
um, but definitely some rays of sunshine in that. You had some players do some, put
Hmm.
together some, at least a good round or a couple good rounds,
Yep.
and or any of them were any of those two? Are they either of those seniors? Do you know?
It seems like McClatchy is a junior. I'd have to go look it
Oh.
up. I don't have the roster in front of me. I do know that we hear her name, her and Olivia Cochan,
Mhm.
all day, every day when we're talking about this. We also hear Abby Bull, Savannah Hawkins every
Mhm.
now and then, Madison Borders. We hear these names, and
Mhm.
kind of what you just said there has kind of been indicative of the entire season. You go to a
Yeah.
tournament or you go to an event and you may put together 2 great rounds and then you're off that third round, whether it's the first round, middle round, or the final. And that's been all season long. The team or the individuals making up the team were doing that, and we said if they could find that consistency, they could really make a
Yeah.
run.
Mhm.
And it did not materialize in this tournament.
Yep. Yeah, it's unfortunate, but definitely something hopefully we can build off of for next year. So um, that wraps up women's golf. Let's go ahead and move on over to men's golf. They finished fifth out of 18 teams at the Mountaineer Invitational at Pete Dye.
Hmm.
There were exactly 2 team rounds under par out of the 50. Yeah, two getting tongue tied here. Yeah, there were 2 team rounds under par out of the 54 team rounds, and only one player finished the event under par. So scoring was high.
Yeah.
Uh, JF Aber was 8 over, which was tied for 13th to lead Marshall, and Ryan Bilby was 9 over, was right behind him, tied for 17th. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
any thoughts on
So
that?
yeah. So the Pete Dye up in the Bridgeport Clarksburg area, uh, really really good course. Famous Pete Dye designed a lot of courses across the region and the country, but this was one of the higher scoring uh, events that I've followed. I don't know if it was, usually when this happens, it's like, well, they were golfing in a monsoon, well, they were golfing with, tremendous winds or whatever. I don't know the story behind this. I just looked at the scoring and everything, didn't read about the why. But 2 team rounds, 18 teams,
Mm.
3 rounds, only 2 different teams at any point were under par.
Mm.
It was insane. Fifth out of 18, that's really good. The one team that was one of those 2 that put together a team round that was under, the 4th ranked Oklahoma State squad, 4th in the country. So they did really well. Everyone else, I mean, we were right behind, not like a stroke off or anything like that, but
Mhm.
right behind WVU, and it's their home course. So I felt like we went up there and did very well. JF Aber and Ryan Bilby doing what they did, both in the top 20. And being 8 over and 9 over on 3 rounds each, and seeing that all those other people getting the over par, over par, over par,
Mhm.
they weren't that far behind. So they weren't up there with the Oklahoma State squad, but
Mhm.
they both put in some really good swings, and the team overall finishing 5 out of 18. That was really good.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. Next week is the Sun Belt Championship, and that
Mhm.
will be Monday through Thursday in Madison, Mississippi.
Yep. Yep. Be really good to go down there, make
Hmm.
some noise if they can. Finishing 5th out of 18, and they're going up against some of the bigger programs at this Pete Dye, going down there against the Sun Belt. Now, Sun Belt has a lot of Southern teams. You think
Hmm.
softball, you think baseball, you think golf, because it's kind of year round. They can play those things lot better than it is up here in Huntington, West Virginia, where golf is pretty much open when the asphalt plants open up, and that's it.
Right.
Um, but that's something to watch here Monday through Wednesday. They'll have actual stroke play. They'll have the first 3 rounds, and then after that, uh, I don't remember what they call the fourth round, but it's totally different. Totally different. I don't know if it's match play or something else.
Mhm. Well, let's talk about some diamond sports, Russ.
All right.
Let's start with softball. They dropped the series at South Alabama with a 5-3 loss on Friday, a 7-5 win on Saturday, and then turned around with a very close loss, 10-9 on Sunday.
Yeah, they had a walk-off loss on Sunday. They got the first couple of runners on this South Alabama, um, and then it was just kind of small ball, get them over to second and third, and then just got the run in, to win
Mhm,
in the bottom of the
mhm.
seventh. But what you saw, if you watched that, was I mean, some slugging. We started off up 5-0, and then South Alabama comes in, and in the bottom they put up five, so 5-5, and then it just goes back and forth and back and forth.
Mm,
But we have just had those. Seems like one bad inning or two bad innings has just kind of took us out of some of these games. You're talking about losing a series 2-1 instead of winning a series 2-1, and that would
yeah,
keep us moving up the rankings and things like that. It's easily fixable things. It's not like all the team has struggled to hit all year. It's nothing like that at
mm,
all. We've been absolutely mashing, you know. But it'll be like, oh, we walked too many, or oh, we had an error, something like that leads to second chances, more runners on the base path, uh, runs get over, that sort of thing.
yeah,
uh, be really good to get back on track, and you're going to tell us how we can do that, what's coming up. But these past two series against South Alabama and before that App State were very, very winnable series that we just let slip away. And both of them were like one game where a couple of things go different, not big things, just a couple of small things, and we walk out of there with either a sweep, or we walk out with a 2-1 series victory.
yeah. Now they'll have a chance this weekend to get things back on track. So if you do not have plans and can get down to the dot, because they will be hosting Coastal Carolina Thursday at 6 p.m. and then Friday at 5 p.m. and then Saturday at noon. So I can't remember if the weather was still looking pretty good for this weekend, but it was starting to look pretty, could be some pretty good weather for you to catch a
Yeah.
game or two.
Looks like it's going to be beautiful weather until Sunday. There's a little bit of chance of rain, but this Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and it's all bumped up instead of a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, not because of the weather, but because Sunday is Easter.
Mhm.
So we'll have some good opportunity to go watch softball. I plan on being over there. The kids have some things this weekend, but I should be able to get over there and watch. Might try to talk you and the family into coming over. I know it's Easter weekend, but get you out there in the beyond the outfield where I go and take in some herd softball.
Yeah, I know my kids would definitely like it. They've been to a couple of the baseball games and they've had a great time. I think they'd love softball just as much, if not more, to be honest. And if you can't catch a game this weekend, there will be a doubleheader on Tuesday against Radford. So if you can't catch a game this weekend, you've got one on Tuesday. So plenty of options to choose from to catch a game down at the dot.
Yeah, 5 games before they, head back out on the road. It'd be good to go 5-0 on here, but this is a really good Coastal squad that's coming into town. So this, to me, is one of those, kinda like Louisiana, you take care of business against Coastal and win that series, you shoot on up, the respect level and the rankings in the conference.
Yep. Switching over to baseball now, they lost the series with App State 2-1, lost 6-0 on Friday, then turn around and they won it 5-1 on Saturday, and then lost 8-5 in extra innings on Sunday.
Mhm. Yeah, that, Sunday game, oh, man. So, it was tied, if I'm remembering this correctly, and 2 outs in the ninth, and they hit a pop fly to second base, and he just lost it in the sun. I mean, he couldn't see it,
Mm,
and having played baseball a lot, unfortunately, that happens. I mean, it doesn't matter how you try to shield with your hat or with your
mhm,
glove or whatever. Sometimes you just do not see it. He
mhm,
missed it by a good, I don't know, 8 feet or something like that. It wasn't like it dropped right and hit him in the hands or anything. I mean,
mhm,
he did not see where it was. And runner was on second, and he was running because there were 2 outs, on the swing,
mhm,
and he scored easily, and that put them
mhm,
up. And then we come back and we tie it up, but then we end up losing. They went up uh, 4 runs, 8-4, and then we got one back. Just couldn't get all that we needed in extras. But that game on Saturday won it 5-1. I of course did not get to go to that, or the game on Friday 6-0. Didn't get to go to that. You and I were busy with KD
mhm.
covering that stuff for um, the football reunion with the Hurd brothers. But heartbreaking way to lose a game. And again, it's not
Yeah,
like we were up by a run or up by 2. It was tied, but we had a chance to go in and walk the
yeah,
game off and didn't get to.
yeah. And I don't even want to talk about this next one, but
No,
here at the Thundercast, we power on through.
that's right.
So we lost a heartbreaker last night against WVU 5-4.
Mhm.
And for those of you who did not watch it, I was able to attend. Well-attended game.
No, yeah.
It's
Yeah, it looked
always
great.
it is. I will say that I do enjoy the matchups that we have, like now that we have in soccer against WVU and baseball against WVU. I like how they do the one there, the one in Charleston, and the one here now.
Mhm.
I do like that, and I do like the series. Shoulda, woulda, coulda is the story of that game. Really, I thought the pitching, for the most part, was really well. There was a couple of times where the catcher dropped the ball,
Mhm.
which led to a couple, I think, at least a double or a couple doubles. It led to them scoring. But I thought we played a really good game against a really good squad. And at the top of the ninth, the runner caught the pitcher was asleep. He caught him
Yeah.
sleeping, stole home to take it up 5-4, and then we weren't able to put anything together at the bottom of the ninth.
Yeah.
But yeah, what play squad played very well, played a solid game, I thought. Just what a way to lose it.
WVU was ranked either 23rd, 24th,
Yeah.
something like
Mhm.
that coming in. They lost 4 games only on
Yeah.
the season, and then when we went up to Morgantown, I think we lost 7-0. And for
Mhm.
them to come down here, and we beat them last year at the
Mhm.
Jack, and that was that 14 inning game, I think it was. I was at it, and it was crazy. But this game you're watching, and we're up, and you're like, okay, well, now they came back a little bit, and then we're up again.
Mhm.
And then they just strung together a couple of extra base hits
Yep.
and tied it up 4-4. And it's not just that it was in the top of the ninth. It's not just that there were 2 outs. There were 2 outs and 2 strikes, and the
Yep.
pitcher just fell asleep.
He
And
fell asleep.
I can't blame him. It's not. I mean, these things happen every
Oh
now and
yeah.
then. You know, it's not solely on this pitcher that did this. It was just a very, very heads up play by the WVU coaching staff and the
Yeah.
player himself. They were clearly watching for this, and they had to make their move because really we had their number for most of the game,
Yeah.
and they made their move. It was a great move. I hate the move, but it happened, and we lost. We get a strike on the very next pitch to go into
Yep.
the bottom of the ninth, and then their closer just kind of shut us down, and that was the
Yeah.
end of the game.
Well, it speaks to, I will say that we have, we won the series against Southern Miss.
Mhm.
We kept it very, very close against another ranked team, and WVU's record is ridiculous.
Yeah,
And so this team is it's got some bright spots in it,
sure
and
does.
it's not the record is not indicative of the quality of talent
That's
that
right.
this team has. So
Yeah,
it's it's just putting all 9 innings together and finishing it out, and we've seemed to struggle with closing out games or mitigating some pretty bad mistakes in an inning or two. But this squad's been fun to watch. Like I said, my family's gone to multiple games this season. We have a great time, and they're fun. They're a fun team to watch, and hopefully they can pull it together and put a series win against another ranked team coming up.
yeah, and it was just in that series before App State. That was another one of those like that extra innings game where we clearly should have won that one too.
Yeah,
There were some miscues on our end, but App State had some miscues on their end.
yeah,
They also had a tremendous catch. Guy got injured on making the catch before it went into extras. Um, Jumped up and caught it on the fence, and it seemed to maybe even caught his teeth on the fence or something like that. His mouth was all busted up and everything. He held on to the ball, but it's just a little miscue here, a little miscue there, and it's kind of like what we were talking in softball. It's the difference of winning a game or winning a
yeah,
series instead of losing a series or losing a game. And when they put it all together, it's going to be so great. But again, to echo what I said last week or the week before, we are, I don't know really what I expected as far as record, but we are competitive more so this year than we were last year. I
mhm,
felt like last year, Bryce Blevins, when he was on, and we could beat just about anybody. This year, we have 3 pitchers that we're rolling out there that are putting up tremendous
yeah,
games in Griffin, Moak, and Blevins, and it, it's one of these things again that I keep trying to remind everybody. Last year, before the first game, the night before the first game ever in the Jack was the first time that the players got to go into the player lounge and everything. They
yeah,
got to dress in their own um, facility, and this is like totally not their second full season in the Jack.
right,
This is their first full season. Last year they got to play the games. The thing was ready for them to play games. They
yeah,
did not have the benefit of the off-season workouts. Now they've had the recruits that they can come in, and you can see that the team is improving in competitiveness and winning games that they did not win last year. So it just feels like, I hate to say a season is a wait till next year because we always hate that term. But it just seems like even people in the Sun Belt, these diehard fans from other schools that have watched a lot of Sun Belt baseball, keep saying Marshall is one of the best near 500 teams in the country.
Yeah.
They're so much better than their record, and that they have the potential to win, and they're dangerous. So when you're hearing these things from fans that have been watching
Mhm.
Sunbelt baseball, highly ranked Sunbelt baseball, by the way, it's encouraging to see where we're at and where we're moving to.
Yeah, definitely, and I'd like to see, we expect this, with the program is continue to see that growth, that consistency, and playing really good baseball, and then the growth of the program.
Mhm.
If you remember, when we built the new soccer field, the soccer players were in a similar situation, playing on fields you had no idea where the fields were, very little to no fan support. Um, there were fans, but just you didn't really people didn't talk about it. It
Yeah,
wasn't something that was talked about because they didn't really have a home,
yeah,
that people could catch games, and they build the vet, and then start stringing together some good wins and some good teams. You bring in Coach Grassy, and the rest is history. I would like to see something similar with this, and I think there's a potential for this. Is now that you have a home, you've got a place for fans to go, you got a place for players to go, a recruitment tool. But it's going to take some time. It's going to take some time to build, and we're seeing some really good steps in that right direction.
yeah.
Um, so we've got our work cut out for us, this weekend. We'll be playing currently ranked 21st Coastal Carolina, Thursday at 6 p.m. Then Friday again at 6 p.m. and then Saturday at 1 p.m. Then on Tuesday, they'll be back at the Jack hosting Morehead State at 6 p.m.
Yeah, big going down to Coastal. I mean, they're a perennial juggernaut, and have been for a long time. But they're playing really well this year. Yet another ranked foe. I'm trying to look up and see if it would tell us what our strength of schedule is. Uh, but it's got to be up there, because Sunbelt's huge this year. Consistently having 3 to 4 teams each and every week in the top 25,
Mhm.
not the mid-major top 25, the top 25.
Top 25. Yeah.
But yeah, got a big weekend ahead of us. You go down there and take 1 out of 2 or 1 out of 3, or win that series like we did with Southern Miss. Uh, that just adds to the lore of Marshall is on the rise. So
Yeah.
looking forward to see what we can do, and then looking forward to being back at the Jack
Mhm.
for a decent little stretch the week after.
Yep. Most definitely. Well, Russ, that wraps up Around the Herd, brought to you by Layer One Solutions.
Yeah, thanks again to Layer One Solutions. Thanks again to ignite.link for 5 things every herd fan needs to know this week. And as always, thanks to 304carwreck.com, where you can find Leasure Oliver PLLC. No matter no matter what, our sponsors have really pushed us up. And my final thoughts is something that I said to you a couple of weeks ago on here, but to everyone listening, KD and I got to receive our award that we've been talking about, the Dr. Ronald G. Area 3Cs Award from the Marshall University Foundation and Alumni Association on Saturday night. And, we were shocked, surprised, humbled, all that good stuff leading up to it. But when it was actually there, it was even more surreal. But without Jed Horton, without Ignite Link, without Layer One Solutions, without Leasure Oliver PLLC, 304carwreck.com, without our tailgate sponsors that we've had over the year, Landscaping by Hillcrest just did a huge thing. KD and I are going to talk more about that on our show about the tailgate for the spring game. They did every single tailgate last year for football. So just all these different things that we have these sponsors for, the work that you do behind the scenes and in front of the camera and all that. This was like a team award that we won,
Mhm.
and we don't get that we don't rise to the heights that we're at if we don't have these people. So if you're watching or listening and you know anyone, maybe even yourself, that can use the services of our sponsors, we stand behind them. They are quality sponsors. They have helped us. And again, it's Herd Fans doing business with Herd Fans. So thank you, Jed. Thanks to all of our sponsors. But again, we could not be there without them.
Yeah, and and the sponsors that have stepped forward, and like with Landscaping by Hillcrest and Leasure Oliver and everybody who's done that. I know it's all been a team effort, and I think I can speak for all all of us sponsors that we're happy to do it. And for those of you who are maybe thinking about potentially sponsoring a tailgate or sponsoring a segment of the show or anything like that, understand that none of this money that gets thrown at it, or the food that gets picked up, none of this goes to line the pockets of Russ and KD. It goes to turning around and providing these different services to the fans, right? So when we throw, not me, when Russ and KD and the Thundercast and all these great sponsors, especially Landscaping by Hillcrest, throw these tailgates, it's that's for the Herd fans. So if you've never been by a Thundercast tailgate, come on by. We want to have you. Bring your friends, bring your family, come by and tailgate with us. I mean, it's for you, it's for the fans. So so that's what, if you are interested in sponsoring, send the Thundercast Twitter handle a DM, and Russ and KD can talk to you about what kind of sponsorship opportunities are out there. And I would encourage you, if you're a business owner, take advantage of it. It's well worth it.
Yeah. And with that, I'm going to say, whether you see us at the Jack, whether you see us at the Joan, or whether you see us at the Dot, no matter where you see us, we're going to be saying, go Herd. We're the Thundercast, and we'll see you soon.